Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 3 series of Zerg versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Ancient Cistern. Now spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones and joined by himself on the main hatchery. Of course we're having a look right here inside of the main base of Dark. Now that's a really cool portrait. I believe this is actually from back when he became the StarCraft 2 World Champion. Back in like 2019, I think is when it was. Obviously one of his biggest accomplishments, and well, it's a really cool portrait as well. There is actually a Lowko portrait that you can have spinning around on your main base as well if you want to. I personally don't play with it because it makes my forehead look even bigger than it is, okay? It's pretty good, it's not bad, but it's not nearly as cool as this one right here from Dark. Anyways, his opponent in the opposite corner, likewise also from South Korea, playing with the red Protoss pieces. We're looking inside of the main base of Creator. Alrighty, Creator sending that probe across the map nice and early to prevent the Zerg from getting their natural expansion going, and instead, Dark decided to go for the base right over here at the 9 o'clock position. So this is from the ESL Open Cup number 191, and I guess this was played a day or two before Creator decided to fly out to Germany. So I actually met Creator a couple of days ago over in the beautiful city of Krefeld. Highly recommend putting Krefeld on your bucket list. No more beautiful city than that over. No, don't, well, maybe, if you really want to. But anyways, he was part of the real, quote-unquote, real Home Story Cup tournament, which was a little StarCraft event that took place over in Krefeld, over at Takes Place, and a lot of fun. I got to spend a little bit of time with him as well. Obviously, well, my Korean is non-existent. Creator does speak a little bit of English. We had a bit of a chat about how long it took me to get there and all that. All of the players, like this is one of the very few tournaments that I get to drive to. So I live in the Netherlands, but Krefeld is just over the border. And this always seems to basically blow every single Korean's mind. And most of the StarCraft players out there, I guess. But the Europeans may be used to some smaller countries out there. But yeah, I can drive to Krefeld in about an hour and 45 minutes. And Creator definitely did not think that that was possible. He's like, aren't you from another country? I was like, yeah, I do live in the Netherlands. And he's like, yeah, but we are in Germany. How is that possible? Anyways, good times, really nice dude, and obviously a fantastic Protoss player as well. Alrighty, so he's decided to go for an Oracle opener. Adept goes across the map here. It's already got one confirmed kill as one of those Zerglings got a little bit adventurous, and it now had to pay the price with death. I know, sad times. Interestingly enough though, this is a Adept into a Stalker, which isn't actually super popular lately. I feel like most of the Protoss players, at the very least the ones that I play against, they go pretty much always into at least 2 Adepts. This will allow you to push back that Overlord nice and early, I suppose, but look at these Zerglings. I mean, they're waiting for a Oracle to potentially fly by this all. Now, it turns out, I was gonna say, normally you have those Zerglings running around here because the Oracle would go, you know, straight across the map towards the natural, and this would be where the Zerglings can spot it. Interestingly enough, Creator making a couple of decisions here that we don't normally see. Yeah, single Adept into single Stalker and then into double Oracle. And we're even gonna... Are we gonna wait for a third Oracle, Creator? Okay. Creator, more like creative. Look, you're so funny. I'm gonna hit the like button. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Okay, sorry. No, but this is definitely not super common. Yeah, so now we have a bunch of Adepts and a bunch of Oracles. So I guess this is Creator respecting the early game right here from Dark and realizing that usually if you send in 2 Adepts, you're probably not gonna get anything done. If you send in 1 Oracle, you probably won't get anything done either. So maybe if you have a couple more of those bad boys, you can shoot lasers a little bit more effectively. Now, good for him that there's no Queen waiting over here, because that could have been the end for that Oracle with very low hit points. One more? Alright. You know what? That's not bad at all. In the meantime, of course, those Adepts, they're hanging out over here. They may have threatened to go for a move over there, but apparently Dark's looking at this. He's like, you know what, bro? You didn't do any damage. I mean, not before, like, the 4.5 minute mark. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, since you just wasted all that energy, I'm just gonna send Brenda, Susan, Karen, Margaret, Lily... or Lilibeth, I guess. We're gonna send all of the boomers. They're slow. They may need a cane or something, but they are arriving on the other side of the map. And These are some dangerous Zerg units. Couple of Lings over here as well on the right side. Okay, they do get sniped. Nice movement right there by Creator, who has not really gone for any transition away from this just yet. So he hasn't opted to go for the +1 or the Twilight Council upgrades. He's just gonna go into as many units as possible, and he's gonna need it. This is a very scary Zerg army. Yeah, this is the downside, I guess, of not being aggressive early on and dealing economical damage to the Zerg player earlier. Now suddenly you have to deal with all of this swarm. Alright, one of the queens here, that may have been Brenda actually. She got sniped. She got sniped real quick, but at the very least there was an Oracle that ended up going down too. Oracles here trying their very best to get some value in, but this is looking really good here for the Zerg. Yeah. The good old Soul Stroll is what we call this build. The Soul Stroll. As in, like, the build that the Koreans like to play every once in a while. Yeah, this actually is just gonna be GG, no? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, because Creator can stick around, but this is a very substantial advantage at the very least right here for Dark, who could decide to just kill the third base, but I think he's smelling blood. Yeah, he wants to win this game right here, right now. So maybe he'll have a couple of units working on that Nexus to try and finish it up, but he's gonna continue knocking at the front door right here of the Protoss player. As soon as that Cyber Core is gone, he's not going to be able to go for any additional Stalkers or Adepts or, well, I guess if you wanted to, Sentries either. He's got himself the Blink upgrade coming up right now, and he may Chrono Boost that all he likes, but he now cannot produce any more Stalkers. Alright. Yep. So I guess this is what happens when Dark does play a clean early game, right? I feel like every single cast I've done of Dark lately, he, you know, I complain about him playing a pretty wild early game that isn't nearly as tidy as it could be. You just end up with so much stuff. I mean, he did miss a round of Queen Inject here in the end. Yeah. He's not actually injecting as cleanly as he could have, and he's making a lair over at the third base, but all of that is pretty much irrelevant when you have this many units on the other side of the map. You're just destroying the wall over here. This is too much damage. Third Nexus at this point is gone. Yep. That should be GG. Gresven is going to be game number 2. Creator, going straight into the Warp Gate research, going straight into the Chrono Boost on the Gateway as well. Well, I say straight, at about 2-minute mark. He's decided to cancel Warp Gate, go into the Stargate, and then he'll probably restart the Cybernetics Core upgrade here momentarily. It's a small little move that Protoss players like to mix in just to maybe trick the opponent ever so slightly, but somebody like Dark is not going to be tricked very easily as he plays against this all day, every day. I don't know how long it's been since I've mentioned this in a video, so I always kind of like this story, right? So we had the Soul Stroll, right, in the previous game, which is fair enough. This is a continuation of a concept in StarCraft that we had a couple of years ago. I think I may have explained this actually in a video maybe a month or two ago, so excuse me for repeating it, but I always like telling this story because it's kind of fun and it takes a little bit before this game gets underway. So for a little while, we had a strategy in StarCraft 2, back when the queens could still inject, or not inject, they could transfuse off creep, called the German Taxi. The German Taxi is when you load up a bunch of queens into an Overlord and you drop them on the other side of the map. This is a build that Lambo popularized, and obviously since Lambo is from Germany, they decided to call it the German Taxi. There's also another build called the German Autobahn, where you use the Dropper Lords to drop a bunch of creep, and that's another build that Mr. Lambo came up with. That's a build that's usually played, I believe, in ZVZ, although I haven't seen it in ages now, so maybe we'll see it come back at some point in the future. Anyways, then Mr. Elaser, a Polish Zerg, decided to come up with his own variant of that build. Rather than going for the Overlord drop, he decided to go for a Nidus Worm instead, but still bring the queens across the map. So rather than dropping the queens, he would bring them inside of the worm, and that was called the Warsaw Subway. So we had the German Taxi, and then the Warsaw Subway. And then the Koreans, rather than using the Nidus Worms, or using the Dropper Lord, they decided to go for just a good old stroll with the queens towards the other side of the map. There was also a brief moment where we had the Italian Vespa, which is a build order that Mr. Raynor came up with. Anyways, fun little dynamic. And you know what? A lot better, right, than the 1-1-1 opener from Terran. Anyways, Oracle going to town right now, getting a couple kills in, not bad whatsoever. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of those spicy names for strategies. The Eric opener? Yeah. I guess the names of strategies are just whoever came up with them, right? But the thing is, this game at this point is so old that it's hard to assign strategies to a certain player. Like, for example, that triple Reaper start that's become pretty popular over the last couple of months in Zerg versus Terran, right? Where the Terrans, they rush out 3 Reapers off of double barracks that they built in the natural. Is that a build that Bjorn invented? Not really. Like, it's not rocket science at the very least, but it's come back, and the follow-up is I guess what Bjorn has really reinvented in StarCraft 2. So can you really call that the Bjorn opener? Not really. I know some players do, some people do, but I mean, it's double barracks in the natural. I mean, it's not necessarily rocket science. We need some cool names for strategies, okay? I've always liked the term gambit that they use in chess. I guess it's not as useful in StarCraft 2, although, you know, imagine there's a build order called the Cero Gambit. I like that. That sounds pretty sick to me. Alrighty, so this opener right here is looking a little bit less risky here for Creator. I mean, it's not like the previous one was particularly risky, but the margin for error there is tiny. This is a whole lot better for him right now, though. Maybe he ended up losing one of the oracles here. He indeed did, but now the adepts here are going to town instead of the natural. They're shading on over towards the third. In the end, I mean, brilliant crisis management right there by Dark, of course. That could have been an absolute disaster. And in the end, he only really lost a handful of workers. Instantly drops down to Spire right now, as he's going up against, well, not Blink. It's gonna be straight charged together with the Templar Archives. Okay. Now, is this gonna be something that Dark can really scout here? Not really. So this may actually backfire pretty hard. Kinda depends on the timing. So I think what Dark is looking to go for here is a big group of Mutalisks. Now, this is really rough here for Creator. Why are these units out here camping? Yeah, losing the sentry there really does suck. But anyways, this is a situation where Protoss wants to go for what probably is going to be like an Archon Zealot all-in, right? Very powerful push. However, he may very well push across the map as Zerg is just about to get Mutas. Now, Mutas can always go for the counterattack. That's a great option, of course. But generally speaking... Oh, Creator actually decides to put down a 4th Nexus. How many gateways are we on at this point? Only 3? Okay, Creator. So this is gateway number 4 and 5. Okay, you know what? I thought this was gonna backfire for Dark. But I think this may actually backfire here for Creator instead, although it's a little bit awkward. Look at the amount of gas and minerals right now that Dark had saved up there. 11 Mutas immediately start up. But you know what? Maybe Creator did get a glimpse of it. No, he had not seen it, but he does decide to go... Okay, maybe he just recognizes the timings and the maneuvering here from Dark. He did decide to go for a Void Ray already, and now he's also following this up with a Phoenix. Now, Archons are going to be critical, because Archons essentially prevent Mutas from fighting this army. Well, you can give it a try, I guess, as Zerg, but the Archons are very tanky. That's also immediately why those Zerglings decide to jump on top of this. Nice pickup micro there by the Prism. Okay, I don't think the Prism is going to survive, but neither will these Mutas if they decide to engage this. One of the Archons has gone down, but in the meantime, the Zealots and the Immortal and the leftover Adepts from earlier, they are putting in a ton of work, and that's all the Mutas down the drain. And keep in mind that on the back of this, Creator still has 4 Nexi. So if you can destroy this base right here from the Zerg, they're going to be even in the amount of bases, and I'm inclined to imagine that is going to be a... They're only 10 HP, right? I'm inclined to imagine that is a little bit better for the Protoss player overall. Now the Phoenixes are coming out. Alright, lovely play right there from Creator. Could have been very dicey. I really like the fact that he realized that something was off, and I don't think his original intent was to go for an attack, because you don't usually do a push off of just a handful of gateways. Normally you go for at least 8. GG is just simply cold. Yeah, Creator read his opponent very nicely there, decided to go on the offensive, and it worked out brilliantly. Alrighty, and that brings us to the map of Babylon, final game in this best of 3 series. Now, rather than skipping the first 2 minutes of the game, I've decided to skip the first 3 minutes. Is that too much? I'm not sure. I was looking at this game and everything was normal, so I figured, you know what? Let's give it a try. Alright, so 2 Adepts have made their way across the map. Oracle's right now on the back of it too, so Creator is just about to start up his harassment. We'll have to see how much damage he can deal on the other side of the map. Obviously, he's still thinking there about that game number 1. Always a little bit dangerous. He actually catches a bunch of the drones as they are trying to make their way down towards the 3rd base. That's a mistake right there from Dark. You definitely do want to re-rally towards the mineral line. He could decide to commit if he wants to. There we go. Alright. 5 workers, 6 workers. 2 adepts for 6 workers, not a bad start right there for the Protoss player whatsoever, who does decide to go for a Void Ray right now on the back of it. There's the second gateway going down too. How much damage can this deal? He did not decide to go for any Spore Crawlers here yet, so that's 2 more workers. 3 more workers? Okay, 9 drones in total. Very lovely. That said though, Dark did make a lot of Zerglings. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult to secure the 3rd Nexus right now for our Protoss player, because this Void Ray here, maybe he's thinking about game number 1, right, with the Queen Walk. This Void Ray over here definitely could be, yeah, very nice to defend the 3rd base, but it takes a while to actually produce it. At this point though, 30 versus 42 workers is phenomenal. Okay, Oracle is gonna try and head back home right now, it looks like. No, it's just gonna, okay, deal some more damage at the very least. Losing the Nexus a 2nd time would suck, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that does suck. And this is what Dark is obviously very, very good at. Making an arbitrary amount of Zerglings and getting a bunch of value out of it as well in the earlier stages of the game. Okay, so attempt number 3, but now we're at the 5-minute mark. Normally this 3rd Nexus, it starts and then it finishes, well, whenever it's done, right? At about the 3-minute and 45-second mark. And this one is not going to be done pre-6 minutes, which is quite a while away. Additional adepts right now, though, are out here. These, I guess, were made to start getting rid of those Zerglings. Okay, definitely make sure to target fire some of these. In the meantime, there's a group of Oracles going down too, but it looks like one of the Oracles here ended up going down. Void Ray here at the front also in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yeah, this is, okay, that's a lot of worker damage, sure. So 17 drones is a tremendous amount of worker damage, but this is where the games become a little bit awkward. I see those comments in the YouTube comment section all the time. Like, hey Lowko, Zerg just lost 20 drones in the earlier stage of the game and they're still ahead. That is some bullshit, right? Like, I see those comments all the time. The thing is, it's not like he killed 17 drones and 18 Zerglings here while not losing anything. I would say about half of these Protoss units here that have gone down so far are essentially wasted. And honestly, so many these adepts over here. Okay, at least he decides to cancel 2. Yeah. 2 drones for 2 more adepts, definitely not ideal. You should have definitely not lost the Void Ray though. That Void Ray really did not need to go down. What do you... Okay. I think creators may be getting a little carried away now, but we're up to 26 workers here that have gone down in total. That is honestly absurdly good for him, of course, but... Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that this is not... It's very easy at this point in the game as a Protoss to overestimate your advantage, right? Because, yeah, you've killed basically half of the Zerg's economy. At the very least, that's what it feels like. But in the end, supply-wise, small advantage maybe for Creator, but really nothing to write home about. I see it all the time where Protoss at this point are like, okay, well, I'm so far ahead, I'm just gonna go for a cheeky little all-in. I'll plot down 8 gateways and I'll try to win the game right then and there, and then they get absolutely overwhelmed by just good old Roach Ravager. That's maybe also what Dark is secretly hoping for here, that his opponent, yeah, maybe overestimates their advantage a little bit, because obviously Dark has that larva mechanic, right? He can make so many of those drones all at once, so he has still skyrocketed towards 3 base saturation very rapidly. There's the infestation pit coming down as well. Good old roach play. Okay. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. If this army gets overwhelmed by a bunch of roaches, because there's no prism here, I mean, maybe he can recall and save half of this, but it would be very, very sad to see Creator losing a bunch of units for free here. Second Robo coming up. Robo Bay as well here. So maybe some Colossus play, maybe some Disruptors, we'll have to see. Maybe some Prism speed. Loads of different options. Now I think we're just gonna go for a full ground army, as he's now also got the Templar Archives done over there in the north of the main base. Okay. So Dark trying to sneak out around the drones. Observers, hallucinated units. They're all just trying to get some work in. Okay, Zergling's trying to get a cheeky snipe here on that Nexus, but that's not going to happen. Swarm hosts. Oh, okay. I like Swarm hosts actually a lot in situations like this. They're considered to be the worst Zerg unit in the game overall, but the worst Zerg unit is still definitely very good. So when a game is as chaotic as this one has been, and it's difficult to read your situation, or when you feel like you're slightly behind, I think the transition towards those swarm hosts is actually very... Hello? Okay. repercussions will follow, Brenda. If you do not inject the hatchery, this is what you can expect. Anyways, they're a great unit to come back into the game. If you're behind or you feel like the game is a little bit awkward, yeah, good old Nidus Worm with Swarm Host. It's not something Protoss players have a lot of practice against lately, even though they should theoretically be able to shut it down pretty easily. You can see here that Creator is not prepared for it at all. Double Nidus Worm coming up. Now he hears the worm screaming. Can you hear the worm scream? Singing the song of all the Zergs. Here come the locusts flying to... Okay, sorry, all done. Anyways, he's gonna start harassing this. And it's very tricky for Protoss to actually deal with all of this. It's suddenly, yeah, a lot of different fires that you have to put out all at once. And it's gonna hurt. Now, this first locust wave, nothing to write home about. Usually the first locust wave is the most important locust wave. Luckily here for our Protoss, he already did have the Robo Bay, and he didn't want to go into Disruptors, but the Colossi are going to be a very nice answer here as well. They're very good when it comes to roasting those Locusts. And keep in mind that while the Swarm Host has got their Locusts deployed, the Locusts are going to be on cooldown for a while. So only just now is when the Locusts are once again available. Should pop them out. There we go. That's why the Nidus Worm is here. To try and save these units and allow them to engage another moment. Another Nidus Worm actually goes into the main base here, so we're just gonna try and create as much chaos as possible. Looks like Creator's doing a good job dealing with everything over here, but this actually may be a little much. Again, nothing too crazy. Nidus Worm over here is not gonna achieve anything, because it's not like he can really unload those units over here, but at least it's creating some chaos. Yeah, I actually don't mind this at all here by Creator. Lovely work. The main goal for Protoss at this stage in the game is to try and max out. Just make a massive army. Once we see like 110 to 120 or so army supplies, so currently he's at 99. Generally, it starts looking a lot better for the Protoss. And even though he's playing Nidus Whack-A-Mole here and it's difficult for him to deal with everything all at once, he's doing a good job. I like these couple Zealots over here too. Now, it is important here. Maybe not important, critical here for the Protoss player to not lose any of his important heavy hitters. He decides to go onto the creep here, yeah, without an observer, so he doesn't actually see these units coming in. Suddenly there's chaos everywhere. Roaches run into the natural expansion because the front door is wide open, taking a page out of Hero's book right there. Purification Nova will at least connect with the Queens. Suddenly this is turning into a bit of an all-in. I would imagine that Swarm Hosts are really nice to have in an all-in, but it's a little strange. This is not a situation we see all too often. If you can snipe these Disruptors and maybe shut down the production here for the Protoss, that would be massive. Creator has not got the Observer. Like, he should really have taken this Observer from the main base over here to get rid of all of that creep, because there's so much vision here for Dark. He can decide much easier what his moves should be. Pulls the drones away exactly because of it. He wants to go and maybe mine somewhere else in a moment. You can always do a Nidus Worm too and bring the drones towards the other side of the map. Observer still over here. Yeah, like, the thing is, Swarm Hosts fall off as soon as the supply counts get big. Because these units are incredibly supply heavy, so you can see right now, Dark's army is not even really that big, but it's Swarm Hosts, right? They're just very supply dense, I suppose. So, Creator going for the base race here, when he could have just sat back and built up a large army, surprises me a little bit. I don't think that was the optimal choice. Seems like he's being outpaced here a little bit, right? Like, Dark is doing a phenomenal job, still staying on top of as many things as possible. Obviously, you don't have all the vision that you would like to have, but... Okay, well, in the end, both players are on 2 base. New Nexus building up here. Obviously, the 2 bases that Dark has right here are a little bit different. He did, by the way, tech up all the way towards a Hive together with a Lurker Den, and he's now getting both of the upgrades as well. So he wants to go from Roach Swarm Host straight towards Lurker Viper. Now, this Observer has been seeing everything. Interesting. Alright, well, the Locusts have their ability available once again. I think it's about time we use that ability, though, because you really do want to stay on top of that as much as possible. Alright, so now we're just gonna, after wiping out both of each other's economies, we're gonna just play a game like nothing happened. Kinda looks like it, right? It's like they decided, you know what? Non-aggression pact for at least a little bit. We were at each other's throats there for a while, but we need a bit of time to, you know, rebuild and get our taxes going, train the army back up, that sort of thing. It's funny. All right. Does he expect lurkers though? I find this observer over here very interesting. It could have done so much. So you can see him selecting it over and over and over again. That is because he's using the all army hotkey here, or maybe the hotkey here that... Oh, that's actually kind of neat. We don't see that all too often. Okay, Viper a little overly ambitious. Anyways, he's yeah, not scouting for a lurker den here, and that might be an important thing. Because this is an army, since it's so robo-bay heavy, right? So a lot of those Colossi, a lot of those Immortals, a lot of Disruptors, a lot of robotics units, those are expensive. And if they get abducted into lurker spines, that would be absolutely phenomenal, of course, for Dark. And Creator technically just has to move this over just like a little bit, just a little peek right over there. That lurker den would be really sweet. Anyways, apparently what we've decided to do here as Protoss is to just play a more passive game again. That was a very sudden macro transition again, though. That's so funny. Maybe even more sudden than the Swarm hosts. I really didn't expect them, because I haven't seen Dark play them all too much, but I guess if anybody plays them, it should probably be Dark. I actually think if you're a Zerg player on the ladder, and you kind of struggle with playing mid to late game Zerg versus Protoss, I think Knight as Swarm host is something that can do wonders. Because if you're a Protoss right now in the current meta, you will very rarely see Swarm host play. And maybe it's not the optimal choice, but it does require a very specific defense. You can't just, you know, play against Swarm host like you do against like Ling Bane or Mutas or whatever. Now that was big. Ay, 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 Dark getting all the Templar. Yeah, he's literally just started warping in new ones. Okay, that is painful. He had just finished up the Storm upgrade, so he had energy for Psionic Storms, but then they ended up getting sniped. That was lovely work right there. That's what I mean. You can't play against like Swarm hosts like you would normally. Normally this would be a safe place for those units to hang out, but against an army like this, Dark can cross those high grounds, or cross towards those high grounds pretty easily. Observer still in the main base, sees the Spire at the very least, so that's something. Pathogen Glance coming up here as well for Dark, who is not gonna stick around with Swarm host for the entirety of the game, it seems like. Normally the tech starts and ends with, you know, the Swarm host, but Dark is going into what seems to be, oh god, another pigtail. Oh no. Oh, Creator! Maybe Creator should be renamed to Creative earlier, and now he should be the opposite of Creator, okay? He's not creating anything, he's just losing. Destructor. I mean, for his own stuff anyways. He's creating Zerg victories. That's what he's creating right now. Yikes. Okay, well, this game could have been incredibly good right here for the Protoss player, but I think in the end there is just a little bit too much loss. I mean, yeah, this is what you don't want to see, right, as a Protoss here. 15,000 minerals, 4,400 gas. Zerg has lost less of both, with Zerg having the superior economy basically most of the game. There's another Nexus going down right now too. Okay, well, this is Creator forced to all in. And you know what? I think this is the first time he sees the lurkers, because he hasn't spotted this the lurker den there. Yeah, when this is the first time you find out about this, it's a bit of a disaster. He has to move in. Blinding Clouds over there force those units to step even further forward. At least we have a decent hit over there with that Purification Nova. And it does look like Creator is starting to kill at least some of these units, but if you look at the supply count, I think that tells us the full story. The Swarm hosts don't even have to really be used defensively, but he just decided to activate it once again. Or he does decide to activate it once again. There you go, Lowko. You gotta enunciate your words. It's important. Anyways, yeah, this is rough. And I think this is mostly due to the fact that nobody really plays Swarm host. So even though it's considered a bad strategy, because nobody plays it, it may accidentally be a good strategy again, because nobody has practice against it, if that makes any sense. It's one of those things that requires a very specific approach. He's trying. I mean, he does have a scary army. If he can somehow win this, I'm gonna lose my mind. But Dark just transitioning towards Roaches and Hydras. I think that's the smart thing. Why play all these fancy units when just good old Roaches and Hydras do the trick? It's gonna be Zerg here, who obtains the victory 2-1. Now, if you enjoyed watching this video, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button. I try to post new videos pretty much every single day, so if you really enjoyed it and you would like to see more, hit the subscribe button down below. Maybe even hit the little bell icon too, so you get notified as soon as new videos go live. For now though, have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again tomorrow for another one.